Hi, this is Susan Hamilton, and you are listening to the Offbeat Business Show, and I'm so glad you tuned in today. Listen, we're going to talk about some nitty-gritty stuff. We are going to really nail down what's going on with our business as it relates to community. And those of you that know me and know my story probably know where I'm headed. And those of you that don't, I'm going to share it because every time I share this story, I find more and more people really relate to it. You know, I open a lot of the presentations and conversations that I have with a simple stat I got from the Small Business Association years ago, and that is that 80% of American small businesses are family-owned businesses of 9 employees or less. So to me, what I'm about to share with you really does matter to business. It really does touch us all, because when you're standing in the living room and you point your fingers in any direction, no matter what direction you stand, two homes in any direction is directly impacted by the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. And when I started talking about this, I really wasn't sure, how that would resonate with you. But let me just tell you a little bit about why Leaping Walls Consulting and Services exists and why I am really enjoying being a host here on the Offbeat Business Show, and why I'm really enjoying working with Pam and Raul and Robin and the different people that are in my circle these days. Also, I'd like to just a shout out to Mr. Jeff Klein and the people that I've met through the Speaker Co-op. It's really been a wonderful opportunity to hear lots of voices saying very similar things, and I can't tell you how frequently these conversations come up. But as many of you know, my history is in marketing, and I co-owned a national full-service marketing agency from 2007 till about 2013. We probably wrapped up before then, before I was willing to close the doors on it. But a couple things were happening at the very same time that really propelled me into where I am today. And one of those things has a lot to do with my interest in management and how I help you as a business coach really understand some important management that you really need to be putting in place early on. One is that we get too busy. We get busy doing the same thing we've always done, and we really don't have any better reason for it other than it's always been done. And I've been there. I've already done that. We got ourselves into a situation with my last company where we were busy all the time, and we knew we needed to hire, but we were almost ready to hire. And during that time, it caused a severe illness in the company with my sister. That was a very painful thing to watch, because largely we did a lot of our work on video, and we were able to service a lot of these companies through using video. And I started noticing that her movements were involuntary. But I thought, maybe it's no big deal. I was married to a drummer for 7 years, and I know that facial expressions can change when you're really thinking about things intensely, and so I really blew it off. But come to find out, no, she was experiencing lesions on her cerebellum that turned into be MS, and we were caught off guard with no health insurance, and really a big struggle, because how we had previously done business we couldn't do anymore, because now she was at a spot where she couldn't perform what she needed to do every day, and it was painful to admit. It was painful to go through. You've got an ocular nerve that when you are spending too much time looking at a computer screen, you can really damage yourself. And that, along with several other factors, caused her to be down for about a month with serious high blood pressure, and before long her kidney, livers, and heart had really some significant damage. And it was a big concern because we needed to keep this company running. It was holiday season, and during this time I was going through the trial of my life with my son, with my youngest son at 17 years old, who had been using K2, and with the endorsement of some other family members that thought that was popular, thought that was fine. And he ended up not being able to remember. a lot of the things that he was charged with. That was a very, very scary thing. Now, they didn't have evidence to support it, but let me just back up and help you understand community. This is very, very huge, and I think it'll help you understand what's going on in the news when you don't understand why officers shoot people randomly, or so it looks. But we don't know what we're dealing with here with K2. And not only will it cause some of the videos that you've seen on Facebook where, you know, it can cause complete incapacitation, so high that you may not wake up out of it, but it can also cause a lot of anger, a lot of violence, and I've never seen something so violent in my entire life. This was very hard to deal with. Had I known, he wasn't living with me at the time, he had moved out, I couldn't contain him. I think a lot of you probably experienced that. As a parent, that was the hardest thing I ever had to do, was not be able to just get in front of him and hold him down and chain him to my home, and I couldn't. There was nothing I could do. The law told me I had to let him go. I think that's disgusting. I think at 17 years old that we should have more rights as parents to protect and interact. And I felt very much like my hands were tied in that time, when his hands needed to be tied at that time. He got himself into trouble. He got himself into trouble with people we all trusted. And he ended up using this stuff and lashing out in a temper and hurting somebody. And so while the charges were quite terrible, we knew they weren't all true because of the events of the night and the rest of the conversations that had happened. But regardless, those are hard things to fight. But in the process, I knew he was going to do time. And so I'm not the kind of person that sits back and says, well, you know, I'm horrified of that, crying and pining away. I needed to know what I could do. I needed to see the positive side of that, and I needed to get involved. Right about that time, we got involved with Texas Hope Literacy, and the idea was, as a marketing agency, we were coming on board to help Texas Hope Literacy get their message out. They were doing a phenomenal job working inside the prison systems, working with inmates and helping them understand how they contributed to community, because largely that's the problem. People start using drugs and they get very disconnected. They get taken advantage of because they're not paying attention. And between all the mood swings and all the misunderstandings and all the stupid, foolish decisions and generational dysfunction that they experience, they really have a hard time getting back on their feet. And most people throw them away and expect them never to be able to get back on their feet. As a matter of fact, we expect about 70% of the kids of these people to also go through incarceration. And when I realized what Texas Hope Literacy was doing, I got real excited about that, and I couldn't wait to share their message, because my son had already been sitting in jail. I wasn't going to let him out because I wanted as much time served as possible before he ever went to court. And I know I'm not alone here, but we're going to go to commercial. When I come back, I'm going to help you understand what really happened when Texas Hope Literacy got involved with 0 to 60 marketing, how my life was forever changed, and why the doors had to shut to one chapter of my life, and while the door is open to another chapter of my life that has changed everything. And now, what I want to make sure I'm always sharing with every one of my clients and with every conversation that I have is that we have a very serious problem with throwing people away, and people have value, and we all have a part to play here in our communities, and a business actually has a very, very large role. This is Susan Hamilton, the Offbeat Business Show, and we'll be coming back in just a few moments to finish this conversation. I hope you stay with us.